Gracias, Rocío. It's an honor to be presented by Rocío, of course. Firstly, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Laura. I don't know where she is. Laura Cabrera. Thanks, Eat Wasted crew, who told me this could be something possible, me standing in front of you speaking in Matt. But yeah, let's begin. Do you know anywhere in the planet where humans have made nature better, stronger, healthier? Well, I do, and it's called the Chinampas. These are the Chinampas, an ancient technology or an ancient farming system with a history of more than 4,000 years, and are built in what's now known as Mexico City, the heart of the Aztec civilization. In order to understand how the Chinampas were built, you need to know that Mexico City is built on top of 5 lakes, surrounded by active volcanoes. So yeah, it's a very special place to be in. And the Chinampas were built on the shallow waters of such lakes. These are the Chinampas. They all have a similar design. It's a rectangular design with aguejotes, which are the sacred willows on the perimeter, and they root the Chinampas to the earth. Sometimes they're called floating gardens, but they're not floating. And they were built with organic matter. Then they put the willows on the edges. Then the seeds, flowers, herbs, the 3 sisters, it's a milpa, But one of the most important things about the Chinampa design or architecture is that when they built them more than 4,000 years ago, around 4,000 years ago, they realized that by multiplying the edges, they multiplied life. So they created this canal system, And this is a real picture of a primary canal, a majestic primary canal. There are primary, secondary, and tertiary canals in the Chinampas. The Chinampas were perfected around 2,000 years ago by the Xochimilcas, but their golden age was reached around 1400 till 1600 in the peak of the Mexica Empire, the Aztec Empire. Just for you to imagine the size of the Chinampas in that moment in time, they were around 250 square kilometers long, and the population was around a little less than 1.5 million, So they were actually twice the size of this city proper, Copenhagen. But then everything changed. The conquest came to Mexico with all its good things and with all its bad things, of course. And there was a shift in the cosmovision. They dried up the lakes. Instead of playing with water and making it their biggest asset, they just dried it up. There was a deep disconnection with nature, And then, of course, the scientific and industrial revolution arrived with all its good and bad things. And the possibility of exploiting land became something real. So instead of seeing soil or land as a nourishing mother or as identity or the home of our non-human kinfolk, it started to be property, commodity, resource extraction. And then the city that was built on top of 5 lakes became from this to this. This to this. And now we only have less than 10% of the Chinampa system surviving. Less than 10% of the surviving Chinampas are used to produce food. And more than 60% of the Chinampas are abandoned. And the biggest problem of abandonment of Chinampas is that the city starts to devour the Chinampas once they're abandoned. So the Chinampas are on the verge of disappearance. But by telling you all this, I want to ask you, what do you feel is so special about the Chinampas? You know, like, few experiences are as magical as going through the canals of Xochimilco in the sunrise, just watching the sun come out behind the volcanoes. It's truly magical. It's a perfect antidote to the disconnection we have as city dwellers for the cycles of nature. It has a magic ability to reconnect us with the rhythms of life. The design of the Chinampas is similar to that, or it reminds me of the honeycombs or the coral reefs, because it's nature at its best. You know, it's humans at its best. When we're at our best, we build Chinampas. It's a perfect design for agriculture, of course, because it's maximum biodiversity for maximum productivity. It also shows us this sensibility that Chinamperos had when they built them, with the principles of minimal effort with maximal impact, you know, because they use this organic material, local material. But what really sets the Chinampas apart from any other ecosystem is that they show us that as humans, we have a regenerative power in nature, you know. Even for city dwellers as me, I live in Mexico City, or as many of you, that we are afraid of our destructive power since everything that has been happening for years and years. The Chinampas give us faith. They show us that there is another way, you know. Many people say we should just rewild, we should just stay away from nature, just let nature by itself. But the Chinampas teach us something deeper. They teach us that we should intervene, that we must intervene, because as humans, our goal is to guide ecosystems through a process of more complexity, organization, and regeneration. You know, the Chinampas wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the Chinampero, the peasant farmer that built the Chinampas. They're connected with nature cycles. And the Chinampas also have this ability to make us angry. They have this ability to make us feel frustration, of course, because they show us the deep neglect there is for peasant farmers. They show us the fracture there is between the urban and the rural. And like Teresa Rojas says, you know, without Chinamperos, there are no Chinampas. They work from sunrise till sunset. They are badly paid. They're looked down upon. It's their sweat that makes flowers and plants grow. It's not the water from the Chinampas. You become a Chinampero out of necessity or out of stubbornness, or maybe out of both, you know. And then we ask ourselves, why are there no more Chinamperos or peasant farmers? How can we make younger generations engage, you know? When a Chinampero dies, another one is not born. The fate of Mexico City is linked to the fate of the Chinampas, maybe even the fate of the whole humanity. What if by recovering collectively the Chinampas, we find out that the only path forward to face the collective crisis we have upon us is through cooperation? Or like Ernst Gotch says, what if by doing it, we become a species loved again by the rest of the natural world?